what I'd like to do tonight is take you through a program which could be useful for all of you at all times, but it's going to be different parts of it are useful for different people at different times. If you are trying to enhance your health, happiness, your longevity, then it's really important to have a few different modalities. And when I talk about it generally, I talk about posture, movement, breathing, mental control. But we can also, of course, include diet and lifestyle, and that's what I'd like to talk about a lot of. And a few weeks ago, I was talking about some of those things. I'd also like to point out that when we're talking about the stories I've given you about how to improve blood flow through the body, then one of the ways of moving blood through the body is through external pressure. And that includes things like when we're doing postures such as Mayurasana, where I bring my elbow into my abdomen like this, and I can lean on the abdomen with my elbow in balance and breathe into my abdomen. Now, a lot of that will cause increased pressure in my abdominal region, which will prevent blood flow coming into that region, pushing it away. But when I release my elbow, blood comes rushing back in. So when you compress a part of your body, that's going to push blood away. But when you release that, blood comes in. And so in the various postures I've done in my life, I've used postures like Mayurasana. And, the simple version I give to that is just general abdominal massage like this. And that's the easy version of what I did just then. But you can even use any pressure on any part of the body. For example, when I'm using movements such as forward bends like this, I'm not just holding my foot, I'm actually squeezing my foot in specific acupuncture points, specific trigger points, meridian places, and releasing muscles. Similarly, if I'm doing a simple yoga posture, such as holding my ankle, I'm pressing on spleen 6. And, when I'm doing things like sitting cross-legged, I can just sit cross-legged on the floor, and you stimulate the buttocks, of course, when the buttocks is on the floor. But I can sit directly on my ankles like this. And when I'm sitting on the ankles, my whole body weight, you can see my left ankle is on top of my right. Then what I'm stimulating is the spleen meridian. It's a very, very strong point, a very, very strong way of sitting. So you see the other side, I put the right shin bone on the left ankle, and that's already quite strong. But if you really go down on it like this, it's a very strong posture. And so this idea of external massage is the one that I want to explore first tonight. So I'm going to begin tonight's session by going through some massage points you can do to yourself. And in the intensive courses that Bianca and I teach, we usually have a couple of sessions of self-massage and then learning how to massage other people. And if massage is something which is interesting to you, then the best way to practice it is on yourself. That way you can temper things. So let's now go through a series of self-massage protocols. And so I'd like you to find a comfortable position, and that can be sitting on a chair if you wish. You can also do some of these things standing. For some of you, some of the movements will not be as accessible. If you're a little bit stiff, it might be hard to reach part of your body, and sometimes you can use external pressure from a wall or a prop or something like that. But do what you can. Don't do anything which feels uncomfortable. So if you can, I'd like you to begin seated. And you can sit on the floor with your legs out in front. If you want to sit on a bolster, you can, and sometimes that makes it a little bit easier if you sit up on something. So I'll sit up on something, you don't have to. And what we'll do first, with caution for your own body, like I said, is we'll begin some foot massage. So I'd like you to take a leg, and I don't mind right now if you're a mirror image or you're the same side, so you can take the leg that feels comfortable. I'm choosing my left leg, and you bend it like a cross-legged position if you can. Not everyone can do this if you've got knee problems, however, so be careful. And sometimes sitting on a chair may be possible, but if you have to bend too far forward to reach your foot, you have to be careful for your back. But so we'll begin. You can warm up your own hands if you wish, and we start with thumb pressure on the sole of the foot. So if you can, somehow reach the sole of your foot. Now, before we start, just take a mental assessment. It's really good before you give your body any sort of treatment to actually check whether the treatment's working. So you might begin, for example, by standing up and just see how your body feels. How much energy do you have? How cold are your hands? I mean, sometimes by putting fingers under the armpits, you can tell if your body is much colder than your core. And just sense your energy levels, how you feel. Is there any pain in your body? How easily can you move? So you might just move your neck back and forth. You might just move your spine left to right. Maybe move your legs, see how it feels to bend the knees and come back up. Things like this to test yourself. And then we're going to do a series of pressure treatments on our body, and then perhaps afterwards you might be able to see a difference. Remember, not everything I'm doing will be suitable for all of you, so you have to do things according to your own level. So sit again if you can, so you can reach your foot. So take a foot, bend it if comfortable, bend forward slightly if comfortable, and use thumb pressure on both hands on the sole of the foot and finger pressure on the top of the foot. So I'm taking my thumb and I'm pressing it on the big toe side of the sole of the foot, and I start pressing the big toe base and coming along the inside of the foot down toward the heel. And I can do that 3 or 4 times. And then I come down, I go all the way to the big toe itself and I massage the big toe. If you've got calluses especially, it's really good to sort of massage them and press them and move the skin. And then go to the second toe, massage that, and you go down the line of the foot from the second toe down to the inner heel, and you can press a few times. And I'm pressing with the fingertips on the top of the foot and the thumbs, 1 or 2 thumbs, on the sole of the foot. Then I go to the third toe, the middle toe, and I'm coming down. I'm going to turn slightly so you can see me, and I'm pressing down the midline of the foot. And you can do this slow or fast. I'm moving through it fairly quickly, and I'm going through like that. And each of the, now I'm coming to the fourth toe, each pressing the toe first, and then I'm coming down along the line of the fourth toe to the heel, and you can go down a couple of times. Finally, the little toe, and do that. And when you're doing this, you're pressing all the different points on the foot. And if you've seen or heard of the concept of reflexology, foot reflexology, the foot relates to the entire body. So there is a holographic image of the body on the foot. So the inner part of the foot represents the spinal region, the toes represent the head, and the heel represents the lower part of the body. So once you've done that, now just change legs. I'm going to do it fairly symmetrically, so we do a bit on one leg, then the other leg. And as I said, you can be mirror image or just change legs accordingly. So thumbs on the sole of the foot, fingers on the top of the foot. Start with the big toe base, press that a bit, then move up to the big toe itself and massage that. I have a few calluses from walking barefoot for years, and I always like to massage them. Then I move down the inner part of the foot, which can be quite tender. It relates to your kidney here. So in a way, you're treating your kidney region. So come down on the inner foot and come toward the heel, and do that a couple of times. And then come to the first toe. So press the first toe, the inside of the first toe, I'll turn sideways so you might be able to see a little bit better. And I'm going in. And if a particular spot feels a bit tender, then press it a bit harder. Sometimes it's exactly what it needs, but subject to not just go, no pain. Come to the third toe, a couple of times, back and forth. And then the fourth toe, pressing the toe itself, pinching the tips is quite good. The tips of our body are important to connect with, either mentally or physically, with physical pressure like we're doing now, or activation of muscles or lengthening of muscles, which often just concentration is enough. Because the ends of our body, once we connect with them, I'm going to the fifth toe now, once we connect to the ends of our body, then we're also having to take our consciousness through every part of the body to get to the tips. So if you can touch the tips, you've had to reach through the closer proximal parts of the body, the hips and the shoulders, the elbows and the knees, etc. Okay, so that feels pretty good. Remember, I pressed the top with the fingers and the sole with the thumbs. I'm going to go back to the first leg. And this time I'm going to go to the top of the foot. So now I'm going to have the leg like a squatting position, and I press this time from the top of the feet, and I press with the thumbs down, to the ankle. And I come down along the line of flesh between the bones, between the tarsal bones. Okay, so, and often there are tender points, and I press them. Then between the second and third toe, I press a couple of times. And then between the third and the fourth toe. And it's actually a bit of a workout for your own body. You're doing a lot of arm work, so keep your shoulders relaxed, keep your face relaxed. And now between the fourth and the fifth toe. Each part of the body relates to all the body. So you can stimulate the entire body by working on one part. Give it a bit of a rub and change legs. So now you're squatting on the second leg, press the thumb on the top of the toe, then come between first toe and second toe and go into that region between the bones that come up to the toes. And then between the second toe and third toe. And you might find one foot's a little bit more sensitive than the other. For some reason, my second foot's a little bit more sensitive than the first today. So I actually spend a little bit more time and pressure, subject to pain tolerance, on pressing those parts that feel a little bit tender. And it usually makes you feel good. So between the third and the fourth toe, press down. And as I said at the start, you can do this while doing your exercise. I often press these points while I'm stretching, doing different things, between fourth and fifth toe now. And moving that part, using whatever feels good to press. I sometimes use thumb, I sometimes use one of the fingers as well. And give that foot a bit of a rub. Then to go back to the first leg, and you can take the heel of the first leg, hold it with the other, and you just hold the heel and you twist it like a screw top. Twist it in one direction, twist it in the other direction, and then take the top of the foot and twist that the opposite way. So you twist the heel and the foot in opposite directions, and you can bend the toes back and forth and just actually take the whole thing and manipulate it. I'm twisting the whole foot back and forth. It's really important to get mobility in the foot. And pull the skin, warm the skin. And you can even take the fingers between each of the toes if possible. Not everyone can do that, so often you have to learn it, but it's a very, very good thing to use. And you can also get toe spacers that seem to have a lot of benefits for people. Then once I've got that, I can twist the whole foot, having inserted my fingers between the toes. And I do it a clockwise turning, anti-clockwise, and if you want, you can hold the foot. Then hold the ankle and turn the whole ankle. So again, I turn the ankle clockwise, turn it anti-clockwise. These are movements, of course, which I recommend you to do actively as well. But every once in a while, having a passive movement like this is very, very good. Be careful. I'm twisting the foot as well. Then I give it a gentle rub and release it, change legs. So come back to the second leg now. And we take hold of the heel, twist the heel like a screw top, in both directions. And it's good to get those calluses warmed up. It's also good to maybe, scrape some of the skin off your foot if there's real calluses sometimes. Then I hold the heel and I move the toes back and forth and turn the top of the foot one way, the heel the other way, so I'm twisting my whole foot. And then I insert the toes inside the foot, inside the toes. So fingers inside the toes rather. Sometimes you have to use your other hand to help. Depends, your feet should be very flexible, but the more we spend time in shoes, the stiffer they get. So it's really good to do this. So take the fingers between all the toes and just rub them, squeeze them, move them back and forth, separate them, and then actually hold the heel and hold the toe and go back and forth, move them. Then hold the ankle and circle the ankle, one direction, circle the ankle the other direction. Careful, don't hurt yourself, but it's very good to do. And then release, give it a bit of a rub, and let it go. Okay, back to the first leg. And so now we're going to go on the calf and the shin bone. So what I want you to do is to work carefully on the inside of your shin. And this part is your tibia. You can feel it's quite a bone. It's good to press in the tibia. I sometimes rub bone sections like that. So I'm pressing a bit in the tibia first. Then I'm going to go on the spleen meridian, which if you come on the inside leg, the spleen meridian goes just underneath that bone, the fleshy part, toward the calf. And if you take one hand distance between the malleoli or inner ankle bone, and you come up, that point there is called spleen 6, and it's often very tender. It's a spontaneous abortive point, so if you're pregnant, think twice about pressing it. And also it's tender when you're menstruating as well, but it's a spleen point, so it's very good for the immune system. Spleen 9 is if you come to the inner part of the knee and put one hand just from the inner part of the knee down and measure just underneath that tibia bone. There's spleen 9, also often very tender, very good to massage. So I massage all the way from spleen 6 to spleen 9. You can also rub the hand down with the thumb along that region as well, very effective. It's quite strong, like I said, so be careful. At the same time, you're rubbing the outside. So when rubbing the outside, I think that's the stomach meridian. So I find the outside of the tibia bone, the shin bone, and I press along that. And here, these are very good points for the knee. So I'm pressing quite firmly into these points along the bone, the outside of the bone. And then, having done that, I take my hands and I massage the calf. So now I'm going to massage the calf. The calf is relaxed in this position. I come under and massage it, knead it like a loaf of bread. And I come under the back of the knee and I massage under the back of the knee. And then I massage the knee itself, sometimes taking the knee straight and just moving the patella or kneecap and pressing the fingers under the top, the sides, the front, and moving the patella. It's called a passive accessory movement. And rotate it in directions, being careful, of course, be sensitive. And then just rub the shin bone, bent or straight leg is fine. Rub the calf and change legs. So on the second leg. So in the second leg, you can find that tibia, the bone, the hard region, you can tap it and actually rub that for a while. Sometimes the bones themselves can really do with a bit of pressure. So I rub the bone, the tibia bone, and then from there I take my hand and I measure on the inside lip of the tibia bone or shin bone. There is the spleen meridian, so I feel one hand distance, and from the malleoli or inner ankle bone I measure and I come to spleen 6. Massage that a little bit, quite tender. It's a spontaneous abortive point, like I mentioned. Then I come to the top of the inner knee, just that notch of the inner knee, measure down, and that point, spleen 9. And these are very tender, especially if you're menstruating. But, most people, men, me inclusive, they're quite tender. So after pressing them a little bit individually, I rub my thumb back and forth up. Not just pressure, but also I'm creating a heat as well, because external heat through friction can also improve blood flow, and I'm trying to stimulate blood flow. And of course, by doing this with my hand, I'm also exercising my arms. Remember, keep your shoulders relaxed, keep your face relaxed, breathe into your abdomen. Okay? Then, having done that, go to the outer shin bone and find the outer shin bone lip, and on that inner edge, I think it's a stomach meridian, press on that. There's lots of little points in there. Go under the bone if you can, into the groove between the muscle and the bone. Go all the way down it. Very, very good. Treating yourself here in a very effective way. You are your best therapist always, remember that. And then having done that, massage the calf muscle. So massage the calf muscle, like kneading some dough, like this, in, squeeze, massage, move it left and right, twist it if you can. Come under the knee, massage the back of the knee. You'll feel the tendons of the hamstrings and the semimembranosus, semitendinosus and biceps tendon. There's 2 on the inside and 1 on the outside. Oh, is it? Yeah, like that. And then from there, let the leg go straight. So the patella, the kneecap, can be moved, massaged above and below, maybe circle it one way, then the other way, and that's really good. All right, so now we're going to come to your thigh bone. So go on the first leg again, and I usually start with my leg bent. Notice I've got one leg straight, one leg bent. You could have both bent, you could have one leg crossed, you could be sitting on a chair at this point. So then just take hands on either side of the thigh and massage it loosely first. Massaging, kneading, then go systematically, go on the inner thigh and press with thumbs, if you can, on the inner thigh. And usually when you start to press it with thumbs, you start to feel a bit more sensitivity, which is why I warmed it up. Coming close to the inner knee, and you can go all around the inner knee joint then. It's quite good to press around then. And if you have knee problems, massaging around the inner knee can be very, very effective. And I'm pressing quite firmly You know, I like a strong massage, and often it's very difficult to get someone to do a strong massage, but you can also do that yourself. So that's what I'm doing here. And I'm going first along the inner thigh, and I come all the way up to the inner groin. And then I'm going to go to the top of my thigh. So then the top of the thigh, I'll do it with the legs straight. I press systematically with thumbs on the top, fingers on the sides, and I go all the way up to the hip joint where the hip flexors are, and press right in there, releasing the hip flexors. You know, usually once up, once down is enough. Then I go to the next line. So I'm doing it in quarters. First quarter, second quarter, I'm on the third quarter now. Coming up to the knee, move back up. And then the fourth quarter, go down. And then I've done that. Good. So I've done the inside, I've done the front. Now I'm going to go to the outside. Now the outside, sometimes by bending the knee like this and bringing it toward the midline of your body, and then just start with your thumb again and push. Again, you can do it in quarters, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. I'll turn sideways so you can see. And the first quarter, which is closer to the front thigh, go up and down with my thumb. Second quarter toward the midline of the thigh, the outer thigh, up and down. And I go all the way to the top of the hip and the bottom of the knee. Then fourth quarter, come to the inner knee, press that. So I've done now inner thigh, top thigh, outer thigh. Now I do a hamstring. So I'm using my fingers, and I'm going to press the fingers from the inner knee, so the outer knee, to the outer buttocks, all the way up, and I lean on one side, so I actually massage my buttocks. The ischial tuberosity, the sitting bones, are massaged. Then I go to the back of the knee and come up the second quadrant, down again, third quadrant, moving towards the inside of the hamstring region, up and down, and the fourth quadrant. Then just give the whole thigh a bit of a rub, give the whole leg a bit of a rub, and now we're on to our second thigh. Okay, so now second thigh, and we start just general massage, loose general massage, nice. And then focus on first inner thigh, top thigh, outer thigh, rear thigh. So and the order can vary, but I'm giving you a systematic way of doing it. So we go 4 quadrants for each section. So I'm going to go first on the inner thigh, up, down, all the way from the knee to the hip flexors. And you'll find there's often a bit of tension around the inner knee, which is really good to release with pressure. You know, gradually starting soft. I use a bit of a sliding method sometimes just direct down with pressure, but often sideways is more effective. You feel it's your body, you can experiment with it. And then the second quadrant, I go down to the inner thigh to inner knee, inner hip to inner knee, go all the way up into the hip joint, down near the pubic bone. Third quadrant. So I'm just dividing, when I say quadrant, I'm dividing the thigh into 4 lines. So I've got 4 lines on the inner thigh, 4 lines on the top thigh, outer thigh, rear thigh, so 16 lines up and down the leg. And that gets a pretty efficient way of working with it. Okay, so that's the inner thigh. Now we go to the top thigh, and I'll tend to do this straight. So then I'm going to go from the inside, up the leg, ooh, bit tender there, and down, pressure, sometimes a little bit of rubbing. Then we're going to go to the second quadrant, the base upwards. It's very, very good feeling to do this. To spend just a bit of time, you know, especially when you're tired sometimes, to do a bit of this sort of massage is very good. Third quadrant. And you can use tools, sometimes a little wooden spoon or something like that can be quite good to knead these regions if your thumb gets a bit sore. And fourth quadrant, so I'm going to the inner knee, top of the hip, and moving down the leg, and really just giving it a good rub, pressure with the thumb and rubbing with the thumb. Good. Then we come to the outer thigh, so I'll turn sideways so you can see a little bit. So the outer thigh in 4 quadrants, 1, 2, 3, 4, from the top to the bottom. And I'm going here again, inner. So up and down, quadrant 1 to the outer hip, to the outer knee, quadrant 2 closer to the mid part of the outer thigh, up and down, quadrant 3, so we go all the way down to the sitting bone, And then quadrant 4, coming close to the outer hamstring. Good. And now we've done inner thigh, top thigh, outer thigh. Now I go to the rear thigh, so we'll use the hamstring. So I'm using my fingers, and I'm coming to the outer hamstrings first, all the way up to the region of the sitting bones or ischial tuberosities. Using my fingers to pull up against my body. My thigh can push down gently without tensing it. Second quadrant, up and down. And the third quadrant, up and down. And the fourth quadrant, the inner hamstrings. Good. And then it's a quite nice thing now. We'll give it a quick rub, the whole thing, the whole thigh, all the way down to leg. And it's quite nice to finish with both legs. Just rub both legs now. It gives them a bit more symmetry. So the toes, the ankles, the heels, and then just rubbing the thighs. Now, of course, this could be just one thing you do. It might be a great way to relieve any ankle, knee, hip problems, also to just give a bit of invigoration to the body. All right, now, next thing to do, and legs can be crossed if you like, or any position that's comfortable. Like I said, you can sit in a chair if you wish. We massage the region around the pubic bone and the genitals. Now, if you feel funny about touching these parts, that's fine. But really, if you're not going to touch them, who else is? So that's my figuring. So find the fingers on the pubic bone. The pubic bone is the bone that's below the navel. So go down to the pubic bone and press. The pubic bone has got the front, it's got a top and a bottom. So go first across the top of the pubic bone, above the genitals, just press into the bone itself. It's quite good to press in the bone. And then once you've done that for a few moments, explore each part of the surface of the bone, of the pubic bone, and then go to all the way up to the hip joint, and then go to the top of the pubic bone and press into the top. You go into the abdomen a little bit to press into the top. And be careful for blood vessels and nerves, but if you're sensitive, it's quite useful to press in here and very, very therapeutic, provided you do it gently, of course. Now go to the bottom of the pubic bone, and you come just above the genitals and press to the bottom of the pubic bone, into the flesh a little bit first, then under the bone. Go as deep as you comfortably can. Good. And then from that position, it's also good to massage the perineum. So generally what I'll do is I lean on one side and use the fingers between the anus and the genitals and massage the perineum. And now I'm not going to do it here, but it's also good to massage the region around the anal sphincter and massage the genitals as well. And that's important for both men and women, but you can do that yourself. But it really is every place you can think of massaging, go for it. With the anus, it's also good to sometimes get some oil and put the oil on the finger. You can use a glove if you wish and massage the anal mouth. And you can even go right inside the anal mouth, take hold of the tailbone and pull it back slightly, and that can give tremendous relief to the lower back. Now, that's something that's quite hard to do to yourself if you're stiff, something that someone else could do. As a physiotherapist, I can do that on people, but you have to have usually a witness to do it, and I'm not doing it here. But it's very, very effective therapy, even though it sounds a bit of a funny thing to do. So that is something which I'll do usually two sides. So I massage my pelvic floor region on one side with one hand, do it for a few moments, then I'll change sides and do it with the other hand, just for symmetry mainly, but of course if one side doesn't feel good, you don't do it. And then from there, we finish with the legs, so I'm going to just stand up a little bit, so you can now work on the region of the buttocks. So I'll turn around so you can see, and what I do is I take my hands on the buttocks and I massage the buttocks. So I massage the buttocks using just finger and thumb pressure, but then I also take the fingers individually and I go into the crease of the buttocks, under the crease of the buttocks, all the way up, into the buttocks itself, and then around the tailbone. So I massage on either side of the tailbone, then up the sacroiliac joints. Okay, so now feel the top of your hips, and you massage the top of the hips. So actually feel the bone itself and press into the bone at the top of the hips using alternate thumbs. Come down to where the top of the hip comes down into the sacroiliac joint. So you've got the sacrum, which is the fused lower part of the spine where my hand is now, and the iliac crest, or the ilium bone on either side of the pelvis. The line between them is called the sacroiliac joint. And that can be a source of a lot of back pain. So it's quite good to press into that. So you press all the way from the base up to the top, and the iliolumbar region especially as well, which is the region at the top of the hips on the inside here. There's no joint actually, it's just soft, fleshy muscle, but if it's very tense, it's worth pressing it as well. Okay, so I'm doing pressure in there, and what I can also do is sometimes it helps if you actually bend slightly forward and turn your thighs inwards, and that lengthens that region. It helps if you expand the abdomen and then you massage it in a lengthened position. That can be quite good as well. Okay, and with all these places, you can also hit them as well. And maybe if we have some time, I'll do some hitting as well. Just gentle tapping first, pressure first, but eventually quite powerful hitting as well. But you have to work up to this. So then we've done all the way up to the sacrum. You can also press into the sacroiliac, not sacroiliac, the lumbosacral joint, which is if you find the top of the hips, find the spine between the top of the hips, find a midline between the top of the hips and the tailbone. Around the middle is the L5S1. And if you press in there, that's often a very tender point, and it's good to press into it. Now, when you're pressing into a region of the body, if it doesn't feel good, and for some people this won't feel good, you can grab the skin, like I'm grabbing it, and pull the skin out. And so pulling skin is an effective way of releasing compression. So I actually grab that skin and I pull it out. And I'm doing it all along that region, and that feels very nice to do. And I'm even rolling the skin. That I could have done all the way along the legs as well. It depends how much flesh you've got. Okay, so now come to the front of your body, and again you can sit, and I'm going to just kneel now. You can use whatever sitting position you like. I'm choosing to kneel. So what I do is I take my fingers into the abdomen. In the beginning, I take thumbs into the kidney region and fingers into the front of the abdomen. Relax the abdomen completely and press in. And I press in a little bit with both hands. Breathe into the abdomen. And then push the fingers in to push the air out. So don't try and breathe out. Use your fingers like squeezing a sponge to push the air out of you. Let the chest stay relaxed. Then massage, one side deeper, one side softer. So I go deep with one hand, release the other hand. Deep with one hand, release the other hand. And I go from the bottom to the top. Bottom to the top. Massaging your internal organs is a really good way of promoting digestion, and surprisingly can release lower back pain as well. So I'm massaging quite deeply in. And as I said to you before, if you really want a good massage, you hold the fingers in there and then breathe into the abdomen. And then use the fingers to push the air out. And if you want to do something more powerful, you could put a brick into your abdomen and lean on the soft brick. I tend to put my elbow into my abdomen and lean on the abdomen. You don't have to do this, but I'm just saying that's one way of doing it. I'm really spending some time to relax in this position and breathe into the abdomen and let the air out by itself, and really let your body weight push into a soft abdomen against the elbow. And as you're doing this, think of breathing into that region. So the simpler version, of course, is just to hold with your fingers, deep finger pressure, as deep as you comfortably can, then inhale. Start your inhale in the pelvic floor and feel like your breath is happening because the diaphragm moves down into the pelvic floor. And then take the pressure a little bit with the thumbs on the side. So I'm just going a little bit sideways here. So I bring my thumb pressure on the sides. Now I'm coming above the hips and I'm taking my thumbs into the region of the lower back. So I'll turn behind, so I'll stand up so you can see a bit easier. But there's the top of my hips. I'm coming above the top of the hips into that lumbar spine region. And so it helps if you bend sideways. So what I'm doing is, it's quite difficult to press into that region. But if I bend sideways, I can go in a bit deeper. Then I come out. So I go opposite side press, come out, opposite side press. And as I'm pressing, I'm walking like a cat up and down my spine. And that's quite effective. And then I go just into the iliolumbar region. So just there's the top of the hips. I'm normally pressing here, but I go a little bit lower into the iliolumbar region, just above the sacroiliac joint. And I find my thumbs can go a bit deeper if I just work up and down like this. And this can be very relieving. And I'm not just going side to side. I'm also twisting slightly as well. So you can see that. And so here, the concept which I've been teaching a lot, talking about, is working to the lower abdomen, to bring the lower abdomen in like this, learning how to roll your abdomen without your hands. But if you can't use your hands, it helps to use your hands. So what I sometimes do is I push in. I push in with my fingers. And that teaches your lower abdomen what it should be doing. That's the feeling you're supposed to be getting with every breath, this feeling like that. And it's a soft massage. When I'm doing this rolling abdomen, my abdomen is soft. So same with my fingers push it in soft. So it gives you a feeling of what it feels like to move your core a little bit. And really, you massage around the bladder. Obviously, if you've eaten a lot or you've drunk a lot, it's harder to do this. But it can really help relieve constipation, can help sexual function, helps on a lot of levels. Okay, so that's really good to do that. Now take your hands, and I don't mind if you're sitting or standing. Sometimes standing is good, it gives you more freedom of movement, but sometimes deep abdominal pressure can give dizziness. So that case, it's better to sit down. Okay, so if you're not used to it especially. Now I'm going to take my hands and massage my liver and the spleen. So on the right side, you've got the liver, and you've got a bit more pancreas. On the left side, there is less space because we've got the stomach and we've got spleen as well. So the liver's a bit small on the left side. So if you take the left side first, take your left hand, so I'll just show you my left hand, so if you're facing me, and we come under the liver on the left side, and I usually push with one hand against the wrist of the other. So I'm using my right hand to push against the wrist like a hammer presses a nail, and I push the hand and the fingers up. So you can see I can get almost my entire hand underneath my ribs. And so I'm gently massaging the ribs and pushing the fingers up like that. And I'm actually taking the rib cage and pulling it outwards a little bit. Be careful. I'm pulling my ribs out a little bit. I'm pressing the fingers in and up. And I'm actually separating the rib cage. Expansion of the rib cage is a really good thing to do. Most people can only expand their ribs because they've inhibited their diaphragm. Having the ability to move your rib cage without causing tension, without using your diaphragm, is a really healthy thing to do. So I'm using my fingers first to mobilize it. And then having done that for a little bit, I go to the other side, my right side. So I'm now going to use my right hand to come under the right rib cage. This side is usually a bit tender because you've got more liver, and the liver, of course, processes your food. It's a type of filter in a way of the body. So often it's harder. I don't bring my hand quite as far under on the right side. Still not too bad, but generally it's an indication of your health. If it's hard to press under there, if it's hard to press in your internal organs, you need to do it more. You need to look at your diet. You need to move your spine a bit more. It's not a healthy thing. If it hurts to press in these regions, it's a sign of ill health. So I'm going right into my kidney, and by doing it, you're actually treating that ill health. So I'm going first in, I hold for a few seconds, breathing in a little bit. Then once I feel that there's no resistance and it's not a problem, and I go all the way along from inside to outside, I start to pull against it. So if you see, I'm pulling my rib cage out a little bit and mobilizing the rib cage. And once you've done both left and right side, you can do both sides together, and then you can actually pull the ribs out and in on opposite sides. So I'm running my hands up opposite sides. And then I come all the way, and I stand up so you can see, I'm coming under the rib cage to my lower back. So when I'm doing this, if I'm trying to press with my left hand on my left side, I go under the rib cage from the front, tilt sideways to the left, and then I can fit under the rib cage all the way back to my kidney region, because now I'm stimulating my kidney and I'm pressing right in there in the kidney. So I'm getting right into the rear rib cage. But it helps to bend sideways first. It's a very good, strong massage. Very good. And those are the other sides. I take my fingers, I use both hands, first under my right liver region. Then I walk back a little bit and I tilt sideways to the right, shortening my right side, lengthening my left side, and I come right under there and use my finger to go right into the kidney region. The kidneys are at the base of your ribs. They go up a bit higher than that. And of course, they clean the body out. So when you're massaging your kidneys, I always think of it like wringing out one of those smelly sponges that you're using to wash the dishes and then release. Now I find as soon as I massage my kidneys, my spine moves a lot better. So it's a really good spinal release as well. All right, good. So now let's work on the chest. So working on the chest, it's good to come maybe to the top of the chest now, and you can run your fingers along the rib cage. So each rib you can feel if you press hard enough, and I use finger pressure on the ribs, and I come on either side of the rib cage. Again, you can do it sitting or standing, so I'll sit again, and I'm pressing from the sternum, the breastbone, which you can press all the way down as well, and just, really give it a good rub. I'm pressing the bone by touching the skin. I'm not actually sliding, I'm not actually rubbing the skin. I'm pressing the skin down and moving the skin on the bone. So I'm massaging the bone. And I slide my fingers out and in a few times. And I go to the top, come down a bit to the zippy sternum, and pressing that zippy sternum point. I come a bit further out, and I go to the top, and I rub my fingers into the spaces between the ribs. Every once in a while it helps just to spread the fingers, turn the shoulders in, lengthen the back of the wrist, turn the shoulders out, lengthen the front of the wrist, point the fingers up, tension the pericardial meridian, bend the elbows, and then just do that a couple of times and just release your wrists like this. So you can stretch the wrists, turn the shoulders in and out, and then just take the arms up in the air for a few moments and let the arms relax. Every once in a while, if I'm doing strong massage with my arms, because it is quite strong arm work for yourself, give the arms a rest. And then when you're ready, you go back. You could do this in 2 sections. You don't have to do a whole big massage like I'm doing now, but it's fun to do, and I thought I'd share with you. So now I'm going back to the rib cage, and I'm going to massage and push fingertip pressure into the space between the ribs. And you can do it one rib at a time with one finger at a time, or you can do it one side at a time. So I'll use right hand on left chest, and I go all the way out to the inside of the shoulder. And that's quite a nice way of doing it, giving one hand a bit of a rest. And I'm going down progressive ribs, walking, my fingertips like walking, and I come down. Now for girls, you have to move the breast a little bit, but it's also good to massage the breast. And you can practice that yourself. I'm massaging my breast like this. Obviously, girls' breasts are a bit different, but it's always good for girls to feel the breast every day, check for no lumps and things like this, massage it. You'll find the best way of treating it. Come under the breast and go for the ribs under the breast. And there are some tender points there. And don't be stopping, once you get down past the arm, go to the side of the rib cage as well. So I'm going all the way to the side. And it's some really tender points, maybe a bit ticklish, but it's hard to tickle yourself, so it's a good thing to do. And I go all the way down the sides. And with the ribs, because they have a bit more flesh, I actually grab them and pull them as well. So I'm actually grabbing the skin and pulling it. And that actually feels very nice. Not everyone likes it, but to move your skin, your biggest organ, is a good thing. So I grab the skin, I grab it, pull it, squeeze it, grab it, pull it, squeeze it. You can also brush the skin as well. The abdomen also, grab it, pull it, squeeze it, grab it, pull it, squeeze it. Now left hand on my right chest, or you can mirror image me, and I'm going to go from the just underneath the collarbone, which we haven't touched yet really. We come all the way to the inner shoulder, and I push into the inner shoulder like that, back and forth a few times. I can rest my right arm while I'm doing this. So from the sternum, back up there, and then doing it a few times. I'm up to the third rib, so up at the base of the armpit now. Fourth rib, going right in between the bones, pressing the bones themselves as well, and the intercostal muscles, the muscles between the ribs. Fifth rib, now I'm coming closer to the breast now. So I go first on the inside of the breast, then I take the breast and I massage it. So you massage the muscles, which are pectoral muscles, and if you've got mammary glands, you massage the mammary glands, check for lumps and things like this. Be gentle, of course. And then from that position, I go under the ribs. And when I go under the ribs, I start going under the armpit as well. So then I feel the bits that I missed, and I just move between the ribs under the armpits. You might find some tender regions, and I move a little bit to the back as well. Okay, so you can go as far as you can. So with my left hand, I can only go so far, so go as far as you can along that rib line. If you're more flexible, you can go further, but I'm going all the way along. Okay, so I can reach not too far back, but by going from the front along the sides with opposite hands, it's quite effective. And so I've done that on both sides then. And I've grabbed the skin, twisted it on both sides, grabbed the skin, twisted it, pull it, release it. And, there is such a thing as skin breathing. So massaging the skin is very important, moving it, pulling it, toning it, etc. Okay, like that. Now my body's feeling very good after doing this. I hope you're enjoying it too. Okay, so now we're going to work on the upper back. The upper back is the hardest part to reach for many people. So I've got a bit of shoulder damage, which I've done from falling, flying trapeze, falling off buildings, and just life, So it's harder for me to reach my upper back now. So one of the things you can do is you use your arms to go to the upper back. So if we take the left arm and we try and reach the upper back, maybe measure how far you can reach. And so what you can do to go further is you use some spinal movements. So what you can do is, first of all, lengthen the back of the body, twist to the right side, then expand the front of the body, then twist the spine to the left side, then drop the left hip, lengthen the left side of the body, then again lengthen the back of the body by bringing the arm down. Now lengthen the right side of the body, dropping the right hip. Then see if you can take your arm higher. And if you notice, my arm goes higher. So I take it and I can use either thumb pressure or even the nail sometimes. A good scratch in the back is good there. And I can just grab the skin and I can pull it and I can press. And I go all the way down with my left hand down my right upper back to my right upper back. So right middle upper back, and then the upper back. And I press between the shoulder blades and the spine, and I go up as high as I can from behind like this. Then having done that, I'll do the second side. So I take my right arm, and if I just try and reach behind the back, I don't go very far. So I use spinal movements to reach the upper back a bit better. I start by bending forward, then I twist my navel to the left, then I expand the navel up, and the arm goes with it. Now I twist my navel to the right, and the arm goes with it. Now I take my right navel up, so I drop the hip, lengthen the right side. Then again, I bend forward, lengthening the back of the body. Then I lengthen the left side. And that gives a chance then for my right arm to come a bit higher up. And I, again, press with the fingers into the region as high up as I can get my upper back, using sometimes nail pressure, sometimes finger pressure, and going down lower, then higher, and using my fingers to pull the skin and massage the skin like that. Then you take your hands if you can, and you just go as much as you can on either side, as high as you can up. Now we go the opposite way. So we've reached the upper back, going upwards, now we go downwards. So take your right hand, go to the left upper back, and reach as much as you can to the left upper back. Okay, so that's often quite good to do, depending on how far down you can go. I can't go down very far. And then do the same thing with your left hand on the right upper back. So it helps a little bit if you reach up and then go down, and then you try and get as much skin as you can, pull it, massage it, come close to the spine if you can, and massage it and pull it. It's also good to actually massage the spine itself. So what I do is I take the fingers and I pull. So if any of you have been rock climbing, when you're climbing rocks, sometimes you climb like this. Sometimes a rock climbing wall is very, very difficult to grab onto, and you might only have a little bit of space to pull down with your fingers like this. So often when I'm rock climbing, I'm grabbing like that. I'm just grabbing a little bit of outcropping of rock and holding with my fingertips. So it's that I'm doing that on my spine. So what I do is I take my fingers of the right hand, or my left hand first actually, and I'm going to go along the left hand, touching the outside of the right spinous processes and pulling them to the left. So I pull each vertebrae to the left. I go up as high as I can. And then I come from the top and I go just below the base of the neck, and I push each vertebrae to the left. Okay, as best as I can. You can spend as long as you like doing that. We'll do the neck in a few moments as well. Now take the right hand and go to the left part of the back. Press in on the left side by pulling the vertebrae from the left side to the right side. Sometimes I use the other hand to help as well. Go down as low as you can. I notice I'm starting below the level of the top of the hips. You can go down even to the tailbone again, and I'm pulling all the way up as high as I can. And then once I've gone as high as I can, I go from the top and I push the vertebrae from left to right. And again, later we'll do the neck. You can have a quick go at the neck now if you like. Good. Okay, so next thing you can do, having done that, is to just rub the back. So what I do sometimes then is I just rub the back like this, and I bend slightly forward and I rub the region of the kidneys up to the upper back as high as I can go, and rub the skin and get a bit of heat happening there. And that's quite a nice thing to do, like that. All right, so now we're going to work on the neck. So to work on the neck, it's probably good to use right hand on opposite neck. So you press into the neck muscles, like massaging, like that. And go all the way up to the base of the neck. Then left hand on right neck and massage and go all the way up to the base of the right side of the neck. Then take the fingers and pull the vertebrae. So again, like before, I'm using my fingers to pull right hand on outer left neck vertebrae, gently at first, and I'm pulling those vertebral, the dorsal fin of a shark. A shark has a dorsal fin. We have the dorsal fins on our spines as well. They're the spinous processes. So you pull the spinous process and press it from left side to right side, and I go from the base of the neck all the way up to the base of the skull. And I do that from both sides. So now my left hand is pulling the C7, C6, C5, C4, C3, C2, C1. Many massage therapists will tell you don't massage people's spines, but if you do it gently and you learn it on yourself, it can be very therapeutic. Be careful, don't force, start very softly at first. Then take your thumbs and press in the occiput, the base of the skull. So I press on the base of the skull, and I go from the base of the skull, the occiput, and move outward along the brim of the skull, coming to the base of the ear. And that's very, very good to do. Then I take my fingers and I massage the scalp. So I push finger pressure into the scalp, and I'm massaging my scalp, making little tiny circles, and I find a way of doing the whole head. So I'm at the base of the back of the head, and I move outward a little bit. Where there's tender points, I press a bit more, and go all the way up to the base of the ear. Then I come in the midline again, and I go a bit higher, and I work my way out. I mean, any way is possible. I'm trying to be a little bit systematic, but different ways you'll find have different effects on different days. So I come down to the ear. Again, I'm massaging the temple. Now I come to the top section, and I'm pressing on all these points. Of course, headstand will massage these points, but usually it only hits one or two, and headstand's not good for most people. Now I come to the front top section. Very good to increase blood flow. I'm sure if I hadn't done this for years, I'd have much less hair than I do now at 60 years old. So I'm doing this very effectively. I do this to my partner every day. Usually it's a lovely thing to do to each other. And you can go quite aggressively as well. You can rub. And, many therapists I know in India are very keen on rubbing, but I don't think it's that good for your hair. You can lose a bit of hair that way, and so I don't think it's good to rub too much. But to massage the scalp is very important. And it's also, then you get to the forehead, you can massage the forehead. Now be careful. Some people say that if you pull the skin of the face, it can distort the face and cause creases. I just find it's really good to press it, so I press my forehead. And I press against the orbit of the eye. You can just do downward pressure, inward pressure, or you can stretch the skin. I like a combination of both. So I press against the eyeball as well, gently, and then against the orbit of the eye, the bone just underneath the eye, all the way up to the inner eye. And I go onto the temples, massage them. Then I massage the cheekbones, all the way to the cheekbones, using a thumb. And the upper jaw, and also at the top of the teeth. So over the lips, I'm pressing against the base of the teeth, and that can help with toothache and stuff like that. Going all the way in. Open the jaw, I'm massaging the inner jawline. The tense muscles there are very important to press. And then also grab the ears, and you massage the ears. So pull the ears, squeeze them. I go around the top to the bottom, and first just gentle pressure, but then actually pulling, squeezing, lengthening. It feels incredible. Ears. And then you can rub the inside of the ears a little bit. They say don't put anything bigger than an elbow inside your ear, but try it if you can. It's fun. And then the lower jaw. So now I'm massaging again the masseter muscles, the muscles between the upper and lower jaw. Open jaw, closed jaw, massage those muscles, move the jaw left to right, and then go along the lower tooth line, massage in there. And then go along the chin itself and massage under the chin, on the base of the neck, and go inside. So there's bone on the inside of the jaw, press in there. And then come all the way to the front and rub the face, rub the scalp. Now the front of the neck. So now we're playing the front of the neck, so you can use one hand at first, and the other hand second. You can use one hand to go to the side of the opposite neck, other hand to use the side of the opposite neck. Then, if you're up for it, use fingertip pressure to press the lateral processes of the vertebrae. So the vertebrae has got like a spinous process which sticks out, and the lateral process is coming out to the sides. And if you press on them, it can help manipulate the spine. So this you have to be careful for. Be gentle, and you can use one hand at a time. I'm using my right finger to come on the right side of the neck, and I go in, and I feel between all the muscles, between all the nerves, all the blood vessels, I feel a vertebrae, so I press against the vertebrae. Very tender, but I'm pushing the vertebrae back. And as I press the right side of my neck in, it makes my neck twist to the right. I go slightly higher. I can usually find about 4 or 5 vertebrae. There's one there, and I press it. It's a bit tender, but it's a good neck treatment. Go a little bit higher up. Press another one. And go a bit higher up. And that's usually, or that top one I can get to. And then I release the other side. So I come on my left finger, left neck, pressing the base up, and you have to work through the nerves, the blood vessels, the muscles. And I find a hard bone, and I push it in gently. Be careful, it's very tender. A little bit higher up to the next one. And then a bit higher up to the next one. There's actually bones there I'm pressing. And then coming up to the base of the neck again. And just rub the neck gently. Good, and that was fantastic for my neck. Good. Now we work on the shoulders. So before reaching the arms themselves, take the fingers and massage the sternoclavicular notch. So the sternoclavicular notch is that connection between your sternum, the breastbone, and the clavicle or collarbone. So you come to massage that. And if you lift your shoulders up and down a little bit, you find you can massage in there a bit deeper. It should move. Then run right hand up and down the left clavicle or collarbone and go all the way up that collarbone. Pressing from the top, pulling it outwards slightly, pressing from the bottom, pushing it upwards slightly, and then do the other side. So go along the line of it, then go top, pulling it outwards. So I'm going underneath it, inside, pulling it out gently. And from the front, pressing it inwards, underneath it, pulling it up gently. Always be careful. Please always be careful doing this. And then do the passive accessory movements of the coracoclavicular joint. So I take my right fingers just behind the collarbone, and I push the clavicle, the collarbone, forward. I'm not sure if you can see that, but I'm pushing the collarbone forward there. And that's very, very therapeutic for the shoulder. And then I do the other side. So left hand on the right coracoclavicular joint. And I press that down like that. Good. Now we do one arm at a time with the arms. It makes it a bit easier in the beginning. So I take right hand on left shoulder. You could mirror image me if you like, I don't mind. And you just go down the upper arm. First around the deltoid region, the shoulder. I use fingers behind, heel of hand in front for practical reasons. Or fingers behind, thumb in front. That helps as well. Go along the shoulder. And I go to the shoulder blade from behind, so I'm massaging the shoulder blade and pulling it, moving it a little bit. Come under the shoulder blade if you can. Then into the upper arm. So the upper arm, I can actually grab the muscles. So I grab the biceps and the triceps. First I'm grabbing triceps, and I squeeze it, pull it out in different sections. Then I go to the biceps, and I grab it, pull it out. Different sessions, I go to the inner arm and pinch the skin there. Then I rub my fingers along the biceps groove, which is here in the front of the shoulder, and I press down with thumb, and often there is tender regions in there which are good to massage to help the function of the shoulder. Finding each section to go down. Any part of your body you can press, but it's good to have a systematic way of doing this. Subject to not hurting, of course. Okay, and then having done the upper arm, it's good to give that arm a bit of a rest. We go to the second upper arm. So go left hand now, or mirror image me, I don't mind, on your right top shoulder. So you press the deltoid region, the top of the shoulder. Use fingers behind, heel of hand in front. That works like that. And you can do that for a bit, or fingers behind, thumb in front, like a pincer grip, and do that. And then from there, take the fingers to the shoulder blade behind the scapula and massage that. Doesn't matter if you're pressing also bits you've pressed once already. Just do what feels good. And, this is one of thousands of ways of doing this, one way of massaging your body systematically out of 1,000. But it's good to have a system. So now go to the upper arm, massage it generally first, then take the triceps, grab the skin, pull it outwards, massage it, a few different quadrants for there as well if you like. And then the biceps, pull them outwards, a few different quadrants. And then general massage the arm. Now take your right hand again to left arm and go under the armpit. So be careful here. There's some tender lymph nodes and cells. Go right under the armpit. Use your thumb pressure if you like. Be gentle. Go under the shoulder blade if you can from behind. Go into there as deep as you comfortably can with sensitivity. Every place is okay to touch gently. The harder you press it, the more you risk hurting yourself. So be cautious. And then left hand on right armpit. So I'm massaging left hand, right armpit. You can grab your pectoral muscle and pull it. So like this, the pectoral muscle there. I grab it, I pull it. You can make your lats stick out, your latissimus dorsi, and your collarbones and your shoulder blades rather. So I have this rather large look like that. And I massage those muscles by pulling them out. And go under the armpit. Now, go back to the left arm, or the mirror image of left arm if you want, and massage the forearm. So first a general rub of your forearm. That helps in the beginning. Turning it slightly, rubbing it with thumb and hand, twisting it a little bit. Then you can also do like a twisting action. So I quite like that twisting action. Better, of course, if you can do it with two hands on someone else. And then once you've done that, pull the skin, massage the muscles. And then thumb pressure. Now you can go down along the colon meridian, the large intestine. So look at the line between the thumb and the first finger on the back of the hand and go up toward the inner elbow and press thumb pressure down that. That's your large intestine meridian. It's a very, very good point. So I go from the elbow joint all the way down there and go in quadrants up and down a few times. Now I'm toward the little finger and then turn the palm up and do it on the inside. So you press on the inside. So when you're coming on the inside, then you're pressing the lung meridian. And each of them specifically stimulates different meridians, but just suffice to say that you're getting good effects on the body. You can be specific and look up some acupuncture charts if you like as well. So rub it generally, then go to the second arm. So now left hand, my left hand's on my right arm. I give a general rub, which feels great. And then after the general rub, I find palm down and I take from the large intestine 4 point, which is between thumb and first finger, up to the outer elbow, and I do thumb pressure. Oh, first I was going to just rub a bit, wasn't I? So let's just grab and rub a little bit, pinching the skin, different ways. Good, and then the thumb pressure. Thumb pressure down. If you use your arms a lot, this is a really, really good thing to do. It's also, we're treating a lot of internal organs. So the organs I'm treating here will be things like large intestine, lung, the pericardium, the heart meridian, small intestine meridian. And so they're all really good to do. So I'm going in the little quadrants. Usually I do about 3 quadrants, 3 lines along each of the arms because they're a bit smaller. And then I turn the palm up and I go down on the lung meridian on the thumb side here. Very good. In the middle bit. Go as deep as you can. You could be spending a lot longer on each part, of course. It's up to you. Definitely worth doing, though. And then just rub the whole arm again. Now we work on the wrists. So to work on the wrists, I actually hold my wrist firm and I take the hand and I move it back and forth. It's a passive accessory movement. Better if you get someone else to do it. So you hold wrist with one hand, hand with the other hand, and move them up and down. But I can do it to myself. And sometimes I do it by just pressure. So I put my fingers on my wrist and my thumb pushing up. So I'm actually trying to distract the wrist joints. And I twist my wrist joint a little bit. Then I press my thumb against the opposite thumb base, like we did with the foot, and work up to the thumb. Then I press my thumb against the wrist, so I'm pressing on the carpal bones and the wrist joint, going all the way up to the first finger, go all the way up to the first finger and squeeze it. Middle finger and squeeze it. So from the wrist, up the inside of the palm, center of the palm, middle finger, squeeze it. Then go to the back of the wrist now, up the middle of the palm to the ring finger, all the way along the ring finger, squeeze it, the tip especially, then the little finger. Press it, squeeze it, good. And then just general rub, other hand. So go now to the wrist. We do the passive accessories, move the wrist a bit like this, or you can use your thumb to press up and the fingers to pull down, or the other way around. Maybe give the wrist a bit of a twist as well. And then we use pressure. Thumb, pressing on the thenar eminence is called, I believe. Pressing it up the thumb, pull the thumb, move it. Then go from the wrist all the way up to the first finger, to the tip. Then all the wrist all the way up to the middle finger, the tip, going a couple of times depending on what feels good. Then the wrist up to the little finger, the ring finger rather. Come back to the center again. And the wrist to the little finger. Good. Squeeze the tips. Rub in general, and then now put the left palm down, and we do the top of the hand. So go from thumb at the wrist, right thumb, left top wrist, all the way down to the thumb, and push all the way, take the finger, take the thumb and squeeze it, pull it, twist it. Then go base of wrist to the first finger again, grab the skin, move the skin, it really helps to move the skin. I'm pinching the skin as well as pressing it. All the way up the tip of the finger then, wrist to the middle finger, pressing the skin, pulling the skin, twisting the skin, all the way up to middle finger. And then come to the wrist again, go to the ring finger, pushing it, twisting it, pulling it. Come between the fingers, on the inside of the fingers, then do little finger. Wrist to little finger, press the outside of the hand, grab it, pull it, squeeze it, rub it, second hand. So now, left thumb on right front wrist, moving along the thenar eminence. Find that large intestine 4 point here between the thumb and the first point. It's very good for relieving headaches. Come to the thumb, then come to the first finger. Lovely, up and down a few times. Sometimes I even take my other fingers underneath, so that way I can sort of do a more pincer type grip, or you can rest your hand on the thigh or something else. Down to the middle finger, all the way up. Twist the tops. All the way back to the wrist, and then the ring finger. From the wrist, I push the bones in. Actually, I'm pressing on the bones, I'm shifting the bones, I'm moving the bones to a certain extent, and come to the ring finger, push and squeeze. Very good. And then the little finger, the outer hand, move it, squeeze it, rub it, and then take both hands and rub them, knead them, open them, twist them, turn them, and then rub them. And then from there, what you can do is you can stand up and you can do a couple of things. One is rubbing, another one is hitting. So from this position, if you want, you could do it sitting, but I sometimes like just coming and grab my foot and rub all the way up. And then other foot. From the foot, rub all the way up into my buttocks, into my lower back, into my abdomen, like having a wash. And then my lower back, upper back, opposite shoulder, back of neck, arms, rub, hands, face, like this. And you can do that a few times, it's very invigorating. Then what you can also do is cupping. So gentle pressure first. Like this, if you want to, if it feels good. How gentle you make it's up to you. How aggressive you make it's up to you, but it must feel okay. So very gently, I go along the foot, rubbing, hitting, gently, and then the other leg, rubbing, hitting, then the buttocks, the lower back, gently, I use the back of the hand sometimes, abdomen, and then the arms, chest, careful for the breasts, abdomen, lower back, upper back, back of neck gently, and the head, subject to not having headaches, of course. And, well, that was fun. I really enjoyed that. I feel much, much better after that. So you have a look at yourself. See, has your blood flow increased? Do you feel a bit looser? Have a move your neck, move your shoulders, move your hips. And I certainly feel better after doing that. I'm hoping you feel better after that.